$70,000. For decades, that number was the golden ticket in America, the specific salary where psychologists said money actually bought happiness, the threshold where you could buy a house, drive a decent car, and still have enough left over for a Friday night out without checking your banking app in a panic. But if you are making $70,000 right now, you know the brutal reality. It doesn't feel like you're winning. It feels like you're barely keeping your head above water. I'm Ben, and on this channel, we break down the rigged mechanics of the modern financial system to help you stop surviving and start building actual freedom. Let's get into why your good salary feels like poverty wages. The first reason you feel broke isn't because you're bad at math, it's because the math itself is misleading. We are conditioned to look at our gross salary, that shiny 70K figure on the offer letter, as our spending power. That is a dangerous hallucination. Let's perform a quick autopsy on a standard $70,000 paycheck in 2025. If you are paid bi-weekly, your gross pay is roughly $2,792. That looks solid, but before that money even touches your direct deposit, the system takes its cut. First, federal income tax slices off a chunk, then Social Security and Medicare, FICA, take another 7.65%. If you live in a state with income tax like California or New York, say goodbye to another significant percentage. Then you have your health insurance premiums, maybe a modest 401k contribution just to get the match. Suddenly, that $2,692 turns into $1,150. You didn't lose the money, it was never yours to spend. Now, take that $3,900 to $4,200 monthly take-home pay and throw it into the current economy. According to recent data from Redfin in 2024, the median asking rent in the U.S. hovered near $1,650. But if you live in a major job hub where 70K salaries are common, you are likely paying closer to $2,200 for a one-bedroom apartment. Do the math. Over 50% of your actual spendable cash is gone just to have a roof over your head. Add in a car payment because the average used car payment in America is now over $500, plus student loans, groceries that have jumped 25% in price over the last 4 years, and utilities. You are left with a few $100. This is the high-income poor trap. You have the credentials, the job title, and the tax bracket of the middle class, but the purchasing power of someone working entry-level 10 years ago, it's frustrating. And it makes you want to scream at the older generation who tells you to just stop buying coffee. But here's the twist. While inflation and taxes are definitely eating your lunch, they aren't the only reason you have zero savings. There is an invisible leak in your finances that has nothing to do with the economy and everything to do with a specific psychological trigger that activates the moment you sign that offer letter. It's a trap that makes sure that even if I handed you a $10,000 raise tomorrow, you would likely be in the exact same financial position 6 months from now. Most people think the solution to this squeeze is just making more money. But I've seen data on people making $250,000 a year living paycheck to paycheck. The problem isn't just the income, it's a behavioral law of physics that expands your expenses automatically, without your permission. If we don't plug this specific leak, no amount of career success will ever make you rich. Before we dissect exactly how to reverse this, I want you to look at your last 3 months of spending. If you feel like your money evaporates before the month ends, hit the like button. It helps me know I'm talking to the right people. Now, let's look at why your brain is actually wired to keep you broke, regardless of how much you earn. That invisible leak I mentioned, it has a name. In 1955, a historian named Cyril Parkinson coined a phrase that was originally about time management, but it applies even more brutally to your bank account. It's called Parkinson's Law. The financial version states, expenses will always rise to meet income. This is why that raise you got 3 months ago didn't actually change your life. Here is exactly what happens. You get promoted. Your salary bumps from 55K to 70Ks. For about 48 hours, you feel rich. The dopamine hits, and your brain immediately whispers 3 dangerous words. I deserve this. You suffered through the late nights, the bad bosses, and the tight budgets. So you convince yourself that the extra $1,000 a month should go toward a better life. You trade the perfectly functional Corolla for a Tesla or a refined SUV. You move from the roommate situation to the solo apartment with in-unit laundry. You stop looking at the prices on the menu. But here's the trap. That dopamine rush wears off in about 3 months. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. The luxury apartment doesn't feel like luxury anymore. It just feels like home. The expensive car is just your commute. Your baseline for happiness shifted up, swallowing your entire raise, leaving you with the exact same stress levels you had when you were broke, just with nicer stuff. Let's play a quick game I call the timeline shock to show you the true cost of this upgrade. Let's say you used your raise to get a car with a $500 monthly payment. That doesn't sound too bad on a $70K salary, right? It's manageable. But if you had taken that same $500 and invested it in an S&P 500 index fund averaging 10% returns over a 40-year career, that car payment didn't cost you $500 a month. It cost you roughly $2.6 million in lost retirement wealth. When you sign that lease, you aren't just buying a car, you are literally setting fire to your financial freedom in your 60s. That is the insidiousness of Parkinson's law. It tricks you into trading millions of dollars of future freedom for a slightly more comfortable seat in traffic today. This is why willpower fails. You aren't fighting bad habits, you are fighting human biology that seeks comfort. We are wired to consume resources when we have them. If you don't create a dam to stop the flow of money before it hits your checking account, you will spend it. It is inevitable. This behavior creates a very specific type of financial citizen. You might look successful on Instagram, you have the job, the clothes, and the social life. But behind the scenes, you are walking a tightrope with zero safety net. Financial advisors actually have a specific acronym for people in this exact position. It's a classification that describes millions of young Americans who look rich but are one layoff away from disaster. If you feel like you're earning too much to be this stressed, you are probably part of this group. The acronym is HENRY. It stands for High Earner, Not Rich Yet. If you are between 22 and 35, making decent money but seeing your net worth stagnate at zero, this is your tribe. Fortune magazine and investment banks love talking about Henrys because they are the ultimate consumers. You are the dream customer for every luxury brand and credit card company because you have high cash flow, money coming in, but almost zero asset accumulation, money staying put. Being a Henry is the most dangerous phase of your financial life because it feels safe. You have the cash flow to handle emergencies, buy the latest iPhone, and cover the bar tab. But you are essentially a high-speed conduit for money. It flows in from your employer and flows out immediately to landlords, car dealerships, and subscription services. You aren't a container for wealth, you're just a pipeline for the economy. This trap is stickiest in what we call the Tier 1 cities. If you live in New York, San Francisco, Austin, or Boston, a $75,000 salary is functionally minimum wage for the upper middle class lifestyle. You are trapped in golden handcuffs. You can't leave your high-stress job because your lifestyle creates a monthly burn rate of $4,000 just to exist. You are working to fund the lifestyle that allows you to work. It's a closed loop. Now, usually, when financial gurus talk to Henrys, they start screaming about avocado toast and Netflix subscriptions. Let's do some rapid-fire myth-busting right now because I am sick of that advice. Cutting out your sick dollar latte will not make you a millionaire. Let's do the actual math. If you buy a fancy coffee every single morning, that is roughly $180 a month. Is $180 a month good to save? Sure. But does $180 a month explain why you are broke on a $70K salary? Absolutely not. Focusing on lattes is a distraction. It's like trying to bail out the Titanic with a teaspoon while ignoring the gaping hole in the hull. The reason you are broke isn't the microtransactions, it's the macro decisions. It's the decision to live alone instead of with roommates for 2 more years, saving $12,000 a year or so. It's the decision to finance a car instead of buying a beater, saving $6,000 a year. We obsess over the $10 purchases because they are easy to control. and we ignore the 1,000 decisions because they are uncomfortable to change. If you want to escape the Henry trap, you have to stop sweating the small stuff and start attacking the structural pillars of your spending. But doing that is incredibly hard. Why? Because of an invisible pressure that forces us to spend money on things we don't even really like. There is a hidden tax you are paying every single day that has nothing to do with the IRS, and until you realize you're paying it, you will never be able to cut your budget. That tax is called the social signal tax, and unlike federal taxes, this one is completely voluntary, yet we pay it aggressively. We live in an era of hyper-visibility. In the past, your neighbors only knew you were doing well if you bought a new car. Today, through Instagram and TikTok, your entire life is a performance. We are trapped in what philosopher René Girard called mimetic desire. We don't actually want the things we buy, we want them because other people want them. We see our friends traveling to Italy, so we book a trip to Italy. We see our coworkers wearing a specific brand of watch or sneakers. So suddenly, we feel behind if we don't have them too. This is the social signal tax, the premium you pay on your life just to signal to your tribe that you are successful. The problem for young Americans is that the cost of these signals has exploded. Weddings are now destination events costing thousands for guests. Going out for drinks involves 18 cocktails. We are burning cash to maintain an image of wealth, which ironically ensures we never actually achieve real wealth. Let's play a quick imagination game. Visualize two neighbors living side by side. Neighbor A drives a brand new BMW X5, wears designer clothes, and posts vacation photos every month. Neighbor B drives a 2016 Honda Civic, wears plain t-shirts, and stays home most weekends. Our brains automatically flag neighbor A as the rich one, but peel back the financials. Neighbor A has $40,000 in credit card debt and zero investments. Neighbor B has $100,000 compounding in a brokerage account. Neighbor A has status wealth, wealth you can see. Neighbor B has asset wealth, wealth that buys freedom. The social signal tax is the cost of choosing status over assets. Realizing this distinction is painful because it hurts the ego. It means admitting that the expensive dinners and the nice car aren't for you. They are props for an audience that, frankly, is too busy worrying about their own debts to care about yours. Breaking free from this requires a shift in identity. You have to become comfortable with being secretly rich. You have to derive more pleasure from seeing your net worth grow on a spreadsheet than from seeing likes on a photo of your new shoes. It sounds boring, but boring is what builds empires. Once you decide to stop paying the social signal tax, you free up a massive amount of capital. Suddenly, you aren't trying to impress anyone, but you still need a tactical plan to deploy that extra cash. You can't just try to save. You need a system that attacks the biggest drains on your income without requiring you to live like a monk. There is a way to flip the standard budgeting advice on its head, and it starts with rethinking the only 3 expenses that actually matter. We've established that lattes aren't the enemy. So who is? If you look at the spending data for the average American household, nearly 70% of the budget goes to just 3 categories: housing, transportation, and food. I call this the Big 3 hemorrhage. If you lose the battle here, you lose the war. Conversely, if you optimize these 3, you can buy all the lattes you want and still retire rich. Let's start with housing. The old rule of thumb was spend 30% of your gross income on rent. In 2025, with rent prices in major cities out of control, that rule is often impossible or dangerous. If you are paying $2,300 for a luxury 1-bedroom apartment on a $70K salary, which is roughly $4,000 take-home, you are spending over 50% of your net income on a bed. That is financial suicide. The unsexy but mathematical truth: the single fastest way to supercharge your wealth in your 20s is house hacking or getting roommates. Slashing your rent from $2,200 to $100 instantly frees up $13,200 a year. That's not saving pennies. That's an entire down payment on a property saved in 2 years just by tolerating a roommate. Next is transportation. I mentioned the car trap earlier, but here's the specific mistake people make. They buy based on the monthly payment, not the total cost. A dealership will happily extend your loan to 84 months just to get the payment down to $450. You think you won, but you just signed up to pay double the car's value in interest for a depreciating asset. The rule for wealth? Drive the cheapest car your ego can handle. If your car payment is higher than your monthly investment contribution, you have your priorities backward. Finally, food. This is the silent killer. It's not the groceries, it's the convenience. Uber Eats, DoorDash, and grabbing lunch at work. Let's do the $15 salad math. If you buy a 15 lunch every workday, that's $3,900 a year. If you meal prep for $5, you save $2,600. Now, invest that $2,600 annually at 8% for 10 years. That salad habit cost you nearly $40,000 in lost future capital. When you see the numbers like that, the Tupperware doesn't look so bad. This isn't about being miserable. It's about being strategic. You can slash your big three expenses and still have a great life, but knowing where to cut is only half the battle. The problem is that even when we free up this money, we usually just find new ways to spend it. The gap between your income and your expenses needs to be captured immediately or it will disappear. Willpower is a finite resource. You cannot trust your future self to make the right decision every single month. You need to remove yourself from the equation entirely. There is a reverse budgeting technique that completely automates your financial discipline, making it literally impossible for you to fail, regardless of how weak your willpower is on a Friday night. This is the escape plan. It's called reverse lifestyle creep, and it is the single most effective strategy for building wealth without feeling restricted. Traditional budgeting fails because it asks you to save what is left after spending. But as we know from Parkinson's law, nothing is ever left. We spend what we see, so we flip the script. We pay ourselves first, not as a slogan, but as an automated transaction that hits your account before you even wake up on payday. Here's the tactical setup. Calculate the gap. Figure out the difference between your necessary expenses, the optimized big three, and your income. Let's say you freed up $800 a month by getting a roommate and cooking dinner. The automation wall. Set up an automatic transfer for that $800 to leave your checking account the same day your paycheck hits. It should go directly into a high-yield savings account or a brokerage account. The safe-to-spend number. Whatever's left in your checking account is yours. Spend it all. Guilt-free. You can buy the shoes, the drinks, the tickets. Why? Because you have already met your savings goals. You don't need to track every penny because the heavy lifting was done automatically. This system effectively freezes your lifestyle. When you get your next raise, say from $70K to $80K, you don't move to a nicer apartment. You go into your banking app and increase that automatic transfer by the exact amount of your raise. You capture 100% of your new income for your future self. Your lifestyle stays flat, but your net worth skyrockets. The goal isn't just to have a big number on a screen. The goal is FU money. This is the point where you have enough liquid cash that you are no longer a slave to a job you hate, a toxic boss, or a bad living situation. You aren't buying Ferraris, you are buying your autonomy. Let's end with the 5-year projection. If you change nothing, if you keep spending $70K as fast as it comes in 5 years, you will be exactly where you are today, just older and more tired. But if you implement this reverse lifestyle creep today, in 5 years, even with modest returns, you could have over $60,000 to $100,000 in liquid assets. That is the difference between panic and peace. You have the income, you have the math. The only variable left is your behavior. Don't let the lifestyle trap steal another decade of your life. Build the system, automate the wealth, and buy your freedom first.